Alright, this demo is going to be totally awesome, totally fun. We're going to learn how to draw some stuff, how to make a little shooting ship, and how to make some enemies fly at us sort of randomly. So there's a few different things happening here. And we're going to start off with this drawing some stuff. So we haven't really done too much drawing in Animate. I want to keep calling it Flash, but we can't. So to start off with, I'm going to get my properties changed, and we haven't really explored the idea that the stage, that is the background, can have its color changed without adding a separate layer. So I'm going to choose, I don't know, I'm going for a nice sky color, and when I click on this, it's probably a little bit oversaturated, it's a little bit bright. So if I click on this button here on the right side of that, I guess you couldn't see where that was, but if I click, let me slide this over like this. So when I click on this, there's this little color wheel thing there. So there's my color wheel. You'll note that the saturation is 100%. It's huge. So I'm going to darken the sky but desaturate it so it's looking like the night sky but not bold and beautiful like that. So I get this somewhere in this range. I don't know. And that'll work. That'll work just fine. So pick your background color. And the reason I did that is I want to make my player pieces stand out against the background. So I'm going to draw one on the stage, and there's a few shapes you could use. There's the Poly Star tool. If you choose options and you choose the number of sides, I'm going to go with 6, and that's how I draw with this. And I'm just going to click and drag, and I want to get the sides this way, so I'm going to hold down Shift. So it's going to be shaped something like that. I'm going to zoom in on it, and probably it's a little bit bigger than it needs to be at this time. So Properties tells me it's 55 wide by 64 high. I'm going to maintain the proportions by clicking on that little link thing there. And I could just use the Free Transform tool and hold down Shift and shrink it down. So I'm trying to make a ship shape out of this. And I guess that's probably close enough. So we're going to make a couple different ships. Let me zoom back in. And they'll be roughly the same size. Let me get rid of the stroke on the outside. So if I select the whole thing, and then shift click the middle, then delete, I can get rid of the stroke. A couple ways of doing that. I can also just double click the stroke, and it selects just the stroke. So the stroke and the fill are separate objects in Animate, and that's kind of how it works. Let's do a triangle now. Options, 3 sides, and click and drag. I'm using shift again, and I don't really like the shape of that very much because it's too regular. It's an equilateral triangle. Let's get rid of the edge. So I'm shift clicking the middle and get rid of that piece. So I'm going to use the direct select tool. It's probably called something else in this program, but that's what it is in, let's see, this is sub selection, yeah. So in, use the Free Transform tool to select and rotate it around. So I'm going to hold down shift. Alright, so in other programs it's called direct select, and this program is called sub select. It's all the same thing. It does the same thing. Edits points. Edits points. So there's a ship. Just for fun, I'm going to add some rectangularness to this here. So this thing has wings. There we go. Vaguely looking like a Darth Vader ship type thing. TIE fighter, yes. Let's use the Align panel to align those things centrally. Looks like I already got that far, so let's drag this over. Alt drag. And now I think what I'll do is, again, use Free Transform or the Align panel to space those things out evenly. There we go. So I'm going to zoom in on this, and I'm going to take those edges using the Direct Select tool. These 2 points here, drag select. There we go. Drag select, 1, 2. And there's something that could be described as a ship or a tank, or I don't know. You pick. Whatever. I'm going to move it in. I'm using the arrow keys and I'm using shift to increase the distance the arrow keys travel. There we go. Now I've got something like a ship. Let's move this one down. Alright. So now I've got something more or less like a ship. Alright, there's more you could do. That's good enough for now. So let's make this into the, is it the player or the enemy? Let's make that into the player. So F8, new symbol, call it player, capital P, player, and then put the centering mark at the top and the middle. And that's going to help me control where the bullets fly out of. It's going to help me control the position of the object. So export fraction script. Okay. Okay. It's in my library. I'm going to select this one and delete it, making sure it's still in my library. I've made the mistake a few times of hitting delete and deleting the library symbol instead of the other one. So now let's make this into a player or an enemy ship and rotate that around so it points the other way. Here's this F8. I'm going to call this enemy. And I'm going to put his centering point on the front point and enable, no, export fraction script. And okay, so now I've got two symbols in my library. Now I also need to make a little bullet shot thingamajig. So I'm going to choose the rectangle tool again. I'm not going to use a stroke. And you can't see them off screen. But I'm choosing orange for my color. Here's my orange. Yes, there it is. So let's zoom in on this. And what I'm trying to make is a little missile, if you will. There we go. There's the missile. Okay. Flaming hot and out for death. If I push modify F8, convert to symbol, whatever, I'm going to call this shot with an uppercase. And I'm going to put the centering point in the middle just to make life easier. Alright. Now I've got a symbol for the bullet, the shot. Zooming back out. Now we have some programming to do. So let's get into that next as we look at how to make a couple different objectives occur. Alright, now for the programming part. Now this can be kind of confusing. Stick with me. Don't quit on it. Don't quit on yourself. And we want to just think through what are we doing and how do we do this. So thinking. Let's put a couple slashes here to say add the enemy and put on the player. Put them on the stage. Player ship. I don't know. There we go. And you know, so let's now frame out what else is going to happen. Allow player to shoot using spacebar. Yes. And now we're hopefully going to have time for this where we're going to say let's make enemies randomly appear. Now you'll notice what I don't have in this is moving the player around. I guess we could add that in there. So this will be a more robust application. What we're not going to have in here is collision detection. We'll do that on a separate occasion. So now we're going to say move player. Alright, so putting the player on the stage is pretty easy. We're just going to say var player. Let me double check I'm going to get the name right. So over here in my library panel, it shows me the name of the symbol, which is player with a capital P. And I goofed and I left the L capital. There we go. Player equals new player. Now, this is one of the common mistake areas when you get your capitals wrong. So capitals are really important here. Put them on the stage. So player, got to add child, player. And now we're going to position it. Player.x equals, you know what I didn't do? My usual stage width things. So, and I put those because I'm going to use them a bunch. So I'm going to have a variable called SSW, and it's going to equal to stage.stage width. And notice again, I always say this, it's helping me type. So when I write something that it knows what it is, it's like, hey, is this it, boss? And it saves me a few keystrokes, which is always nice. We appreciate that. Now, where are we going next? We're going player.x equals SSW divided by 2. Player.y equals SSH minus 2 to our 1.5 something. Some random number. No, you could use numbers for this. If I said 250 or whatever for half of the stage, this way it always stays correct. So it's actually a number being represented there. So 1.5 times player.height. Let's see where that goes. No errors. It's positioned where I want it. It's at the bottom. Now the bigger the object is, the more that geometry is going to change its position. So if I say 3 times and my player ship is huge, it may place it off the screen somewhere. So you have to think about the effect of the size of your objects and make it work that way. Alright, so now the player's on the stage. We're going to add the player movement. This part was pretty lengthy last time. Well, let's go ahead and have listener. So stage dot add event listener. And this is a event type. No, it's a keyboard event. Keyboard event. Let's move that hand out of the way. And the choice is key up or key down. So let's start with key down. And then check down. And the purpose of the check down is to find out which key was pushed. So now we're going to go function, check down. And this is going to be something we can reuse but rewrite. Keyboard event. I bet if we hit down arrow, there it is, keyboard event. And void, no output. And left curly brace. Now, the purpose of this is to cause the player to move back and forth. And a moment ago I made a mistake where I actually wrote this whole thing where the keyboard down would change the X property of the player. But it was really unsmooth because it was dependent upon checking if the key was down instead of upon the passing of time. So the number of times it would process the keyboard down was less than processing the passing of time. So what we're going to do is we need to have a variable in here. So we're going to say we're going to call these movement vars. So we're going to make one called left. And it's going to be a Boolean, and it's going to be equal to false. And now we're going to have one for right, Boolean, also false. And we're going to have a ship speed, and we'll just say equals, we could say number, but we don't have to. Let's just say 10. Alright, now what's going to happen with this function is going to change the value of one of those Booleans. So we're going to say if e.keycode, and keycode is the lowercase or the uppercase c, and it's in this list if yours shows up that way. If the keycode double equals, which is a logic check, is left or keyboard left. I almost messed that up again. Keyboard dot left. If that's true, then we're going to change the value of the variable. So then left is going to equal true. Now we have true. So we have double equals, which is a logic operator, and we have just a regular equals, which is a value operator. Now let's just copy all that. You could type it again if you want to, but why? So now I'm going to change the left to right, all caps, and change this left to right, lowercase, and there we go. So now this is a check down. We also need one for check up, so this entire listener function pair, stage add event listener, and the function, we're going to duplicate. And then we have to make sure we change the new version. So this is my copied version. There's my first one. There's my new one. They say the same things. We need to check up. And let's copy that. And paste. And again, that's one of the most common mistakes I see from students is these two don't match. There's an extra capital somewhere or no capitals. So now these are going to all become false. So how easy was that? You just rewrite this thing as false. So it's checking the same keys, different function, different listener, and now that works. Let's just check this. And nothing happens, right? Now before we did use listeners for this, and if you've done this right, let's just try one of these. Trace. Yeah, go left, dude. Or Horace Greeley from history, go left, go west, young man, go west. So, let's see, it does not appear to be working because I'm not getting any output. Oh, there it is. So my output says, yeah, go left, dude. So now that that works, I can assume the rest of these, if I've done it right, work just great. And now we need the function that moves the stuff. So it's going to add a new add event listener. So stage dot add event listener. And if you're really lucky if you have this pop-up happening because it helps you write stuff. So this listener is going to be an event dot not activate thing. I don't know where that came from. Enter underscore frame comma. What's the name of my function? Move ship. Move player. How that? There. And then we say semicolon. And then we're going to write a function called move player. Based on an event type. So this event matches this event here. Now we're going to add void curly braces. And now this part gets a little bit complex sometimes, or a lot of stuff in it. But we're just going to say if left equals true. But I missed the true. Then do this stuff in here, which is player.x minus equals ship speed or player speed. What is it? Player speed or ship speed? Should be player speed. There we go. Copy that. So we just changed the variable name from ship speed to player speed. Don't miss that part. Player speed. So if we run it, totally nothing happens. So what happened that I went wrong with here? So if left is true, player.x minus equals player speed. Didn't get any errors. Didn't get any output. Let's just test this by saying trace. Go. So hitting left. Alright, so we did the test earlier. The test is out. Now, because it's not working, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. If I just type in a trace to see, is it going? Oops, I ended that with a colon instead of a semicolon. Run it. So now it's going, but something isn't happening with this left is true. So, check down. This is check up. Oh, you know what I messed up on? They're both key downs. This one needs to be key up. That's where the problem was. So I did a copying and pasting, and it didn't work. So now it goes left, and it never comes back. So to make sure it comes back, let's get rid of that trace now, and let's get rid of the other trace. We can just comment these out, or get rid of them entirely. It's up to you. And I'm going to say if player.x less than 0, which is the left side of the screen, then do this, which is, look, just copy and paste it. Copy, paste, and we're going to make that equal 0. So there's that. So now we have this thing that says stop on the left side of the screen. I click on the screen still, and it stops. That's very nice. Now, again, you can see why I am cautioning you that when you copy and paste things, because when I copy and pasted this whole listener function pair, I left the listener type as key up, key down when I showed how to key up. So as you copy and paste, think of what am I copying, why am I copying it, and what am I needing to change. So I'm going to pop back in here, and I'm going to take the if left is true. Notice there's 2 lefts, 2 rights. And that's the curly braces. So I copy this, I paste, and now this is going to be right. If right is true, And player.x is going to plus equal player speed. And this time, instead of less than, we're going to have greater than. And we're going to have SSW. And then SSW here also. So now it moves. It goes right, stops. It goes left, stops. Now the shooting part. This is the interesting and fun part. So we can add to our check down to see if one of the keys is, let's see, where am I? Like something's not right here. Let's go there. So we're going to say if E key code is space then do this, which is we're just going to make a function up. Now, so far all of our functions have listeners. This one won't have it. So we're going to make a function, and this function says fire 1. So let's go write that function. So let's see, here's this space bar. We've already got the space bar thing in there. So fire 1 is the name of our function. I think we don't need anything inside of these parentheses, but I'm not entirely certain. Void, and let's just do a trace. Shoot him. Alright. Undefined property space. You know what I left out up there? I left out the term keyboard. Dot space. So if I hit the space bar, it says shoot him. Now that works. Now if we're not careful though, if I hold down the space bar, it just shoots like crazy. That's not good in the game. So now we're going to have a little bit of code in here that's just going to define it. So in the fire 1, oops, what I just did. Somehow I added a divider line. It's just, there we go. So there's these little minus signs that collapse things for cleanliness. So let's just make this shoot. And we're going to have a new Boolean. And we're going to call it var shot ready. It's a Boolean. And it's going to equal true. So the first thing this is going to want to know is it ready to shoot? So if shot ready double equals true, then do this thing. And that will be to add a shot to the screen. So we're going to make a var new shot. What do we call it? Shot? We called it shot. We did. Var's copy of shot uppercase equals new shot. Now when it makes this and puts it on the screen, it's going to put it somewhere, right? So you can see them showing up here. But it's making them one at a time. We need to have a controlling group for us. So this new object, we'll put it with the booleans maybe. Somewhere. Movement variables. So we're going to make a thing called an array. Now the array is called shot box. And it's an array. So an array is a class of variable types. And it holds a bunch of things within it. So the shot box is like all the shots that have been fired will be inside this thing. And they will they'll be known by number and name. So once we add that, we have to also add it to the array we call it shot box. So shot box, new command dot push shot. So now it's putting it in the array, and we need to give it a location, which will be shot.x equals player.x, and shot.y equals player.y. So if we run that, it's making all these shots. And obviously, you're like, but they don't move. They don't move. So when we have this, we're going to make those shots move, which is a separate function. I don't think we're going to get random enemies today, but we're going to make this shot thing work. So let's just move this this up so you can see it better. Alright, move shots. And so we're going to make this thing add event listener. Event void left curly. Yeah, I totally blew it. That's not how it gets written. You got the wrong stuff in the wrong place. So add event listener is an event of type enter frame, and the function is called move shots, and that's the listener line. So now I got ahead of myself really, didn't I? I'm going to copy that function name, go here, and function move shots. So now, real easy. Well, not that easy. This is a loop, and this little piece of grammar, or this little piece of syntax, is going to help us loop through all the shots in the box. So in the shot box, so very I is going to be equal to shot box dot length, and that just says how many shots are there currently at this moment. And then we separate the statements in here with semicolons. So we're going to go all the way from shot box dot length, that is the last one, the biggest number in there. And if we use I all the way down to, let's see, I think it's greater than or equal to 0, and then we're going to iterate downwards. So I minus minus is everything between these two positions and count down. It is a little bit complicated until you understand it. This is one of the most complicated things to learn in programming is in this programming for this game is the loop. So now we're going to say for that object, shot box, and then square brackets I. So it says this one particular what they're doing. So one at a time it goes through there, and it says, let's say dot Y, and let's move them up. So minus equals, and let's just say move these by 10. Okay, so let's just try that. Run it, and it says I've got a type problem in here. So something's wrong with my code. Shotbox.length. Let's see. It usually gives me a line number. Column 20, line 85. Something in this line is wrong. Type is not found. Compound constant. Let's see. Shotbox. Did I write that correctly? Shotbox. Length. Yep, here's what it is. There's supposed to be the term integer after this. Variable I is an integer equal to. And that's what the problem was. So now when I shoot, the term is undefined, has no properties. So it's still not working. So move shots has something that's not working. Shotbox.length. So it turns out the missing piece here is the minus. There's supposed to be -1. And the reason that is the number of objects in the box. -1 gives us the top index number because the first one starts at 0. That's kind of weird to understand. I'll try to go over it on the board. So as I move this, these bullets fly. And that's pretty cool. Now the only thing we need to change is that as these things get fired off, the computer knows each and every one of them by name. Sally, Mike, Jose, Johnny, Fernando, all these little bullets flying off into the world, and it's thinking about them all. And after there's too many, it kind of goes crazy, like Octomom a little bit. So if we now go, okay, as they disappear off the screen, let's get rid of them. So we say if shotbox I dot y, if that becomes less than 0, and let's try it at 25 right now, and then we'll change it later. If that's true, if the position becomes higher than there, then we're going to take it out. So we'll do remove child. You type child shotbox I, and then we also that removes it from the stage, so out of sight, now out of mind. Stop thinking about it. So we say shotbox dot let's see, push adds it to, and splice removes it. And we say I, this one, and take out this many of them. So now as we move them through there, you see them disappear before they reach the top. You can't really see them disappearing too much. Let's change that position for removal like at 100, just so you can be sure it works. And once you see them disappearing at 100, okay, that works. Now change that back to 0. That way they get all the way across the screen before they're gone. And that's your lab for the day. Kind of lengthy. You can do it. Rock on.